Urwa was not the kind of woman who complained about life. She believed in silent hard work, in showing up every day, and in earning respect through dedication rather than words. For 5 years, she worked at Falcon Heights PVT Ltd., a mid-sized corporate office where deadlines ruled lives and loyalty was often ignored. She arrived before most employees and left after the office lights were turned off. While others laughed during lunch breaks, Urwa reviewed files. While others blamed circumstances, Urwa fixed mistakes, many of them not even her own. Her salary was modest, but her responsibilities were not. She handled documentation, vendor coordination, check preparation, and sometimes even trained new staff without extra pay. The management praised her when it was convenient and ignored her when it mattered. Still, Urwa stayed loyal because she needed the job, because her family depended on her income, because she believed honesty would protect her. She was wrong. It was a Thursday busy, chaotic, and unforgiving. The finance department was overloaded because of an upcoming audit. The accounts officer was absent, and Urwa was asked to prepare checks for several payments. This was not unusual. She had done it dozens of times before. Her manager, Mr. Raghav Malhotra, a man known more for his arrogance than leadership, rushed into the office cabin. "Urwa, the vendor payment needs to be processed immediately," he said sharply. "I need the check ready in 10 minutes. Urwa nodded. "Yes, sir." She reviewed the list, names, amounts, account details. One name stood out. It looked similar to an office vendor, but wasn't exactly the same. She hesitated. She checked the file attached. Everything seemed approved. The signature column already had initials from the accounts desk. Trusting the internal process, Urwa signed the check and placed it in the outgoing file. 10 minutes later, the storm arrived. Urwa. The entire office froze. Mr. Raghav stormed out of his cabin, holding the check like evidence of a crime. "Who authorized this?" he shouted. Urwa stood up slowly. "Sir, I prepared it as per the file. This person is not our employee," he yelled, slamming the check on her desk. "Do you even know what you're doing?" All eyes turned to her, her coworkers, people she helped, trained, covered for, watched silently. No one defended her. Urwa's heart pounded. "Sir, the file was approved. I didn't receive any instruction that, so now you're blaming the system," he sneered. "You signed it? That's enough." He turned to everyone and announced loudly, "This is what happens when irresponsible people are trusted with company money." Urwa felt her throat tighten. This wasn't just anger. This was humiliation. Later that day, Urwa was called into the manager's cabin. No HR, no investigation, no explanation. Mr. Raghav leaned back in his chair, cold and detached. "You've embarrassed this office," he said. "Your services are no longer required." Urwa stared at him in disbelief. "Sir, it was a small mistake. I've worked here for years." "Mistake?" he interrupted. "You signed a check to a non-employee. That's financial misconduct." She clenched her fists. "You didn't even check who approved the file," he smirked. "I don't need to. I need a responsible face to remove. And today, that face is yours." Then came the final blow. "Clear your seat by." Evening, just like that, 5 years of loyalty erased by one. Signature. Urwa packed her things. Quietly her desk where she had spent countless late nights looked unfamiliar now. A few colleagues avoided eye contact. Some whispered. Others pretended to be busy. Not one person asked if she was okay when she stepped out of the building. The sun felt harsh, almost mocking. Her phone buzzed messages from her family asking about salary dates, expenses, hopes. She had no answers. That night, Urwa didn't cry immediately. She sat in silence, replaying the day again and again. Not because she lost the job, but because she was used, blamed, and thrown away. 3 days later, a call came. It wasn't from the office. It was from the bank. "Ma'am, guarding the check you signed? There's an internal inquiry. The account belongs to a company linked to your manager." Urwa's breath stopped. Linked to her manager? For the first time since her termination, her eyes burned not with tears, but with clarity. That check, that file, that mistake, it wasn't accidental. She had been set up. And in that moment, Urwa made a decision. She would not beg. She would not forgive Isley. And she would not walk away quietly. This wasn't the end. This was the beginning of revenge. Urwa didn't rush. She knew one thing clearly now. People like Raghav Malhotra didn't fall because of emotions. They fell because of evidence, so she stayed calm. The bank officer called again. "Ma'am, we can't say much officially," he said carefully, "but the check you signed was redirected to a shell company." "A shell company?" Urwa asked. "Yes, registered under a different name, but linked to someone inside your office." Urwa wrote everything down, dates, amounts. Company name, that night. She searched online, and there it was. The shell company had been registered 3 years ago. Director name? R. Malhotra's cousin. Her hands trembled. Raghav Malhotra had been stealing money for years, and she had been used as a scapegoat. Urwa contacted an old colleague, Eamon, a junior accounts assistant she once trained. At first, he was scared. "They monitor emails," he whispered. "If they find out I talked, I won't mention your name," Urwa said calmly. "I just need facts." Eamon hesitated, then spoke. "There were many checks like this," he said. "Always urgent, always approved verbally, always handled by you or the finance desk." Urwa closed her eyes. So that was why she was trusted with checks, not because she was loyal, because she was clean, and clean people make perfect shields. Urwa also discovered something worse. The HR head had raised concerns earlier, but Raghav shut them down. In exchange, a promotion. The entire system was rotten. Urwa stopped being the obedient employee she once was. She learned financial compliance laws, whistleblower protections, corporate fraud reporting systems. She attended free legal webinars, read case studies, spoke to a pro bono lawyer. She didn't sleep much, but she smiled more, because now she knew something powerful. Truth doesn't need shouting. It needs timing. Urwa applied for new jobs. She was rejected again and again. Her termination? Record followed her. Financial misconduct, it said. That label burned, but instead of breaking her, it hardened her. She decided if she couldn't return as an employee, she would return as a storm. Urwa filed a formal whistleblower complaint. Not to the office, to the Corporate Regulatory Authority. She attached bank confirmations, company registration proofs, email trails. Her termination letter, she didn't accuse loudly. She simply asked for an audit. That was enough. 2 weeks later, Falcon Heights received an audit notice. Accounts frozen. Transactions reviewed. Directors summoned. Raghav panicked. He started calling Urwa once, twice, 10 times. She didn't answer. For the first time in years, the powerful man felt afraid. Urwa visited the office building one last time, not inside, just outside. She looked up at the floor where her desk once stood. Her seat was empty, no replacement, because the audit had halted all hiring. She smiled softly. "They removed me easily," she whispered. "Now let's see how easily they remove you." The audit didn't arrive quietly. It arrived like a slow earthquake. Files were seized, emails were frozen, bank records were pulled from years ago, and every trail led to the same name, Raghav Malhotra. Falcon Heights stopped feeling like an office. It felt like a crime scene. Employees whispered in corridors. Managers avoided eye contact. HR locked their doors. Raghav tried to control the situation. "This is routine," he told everyone. "Cooperate." But his voice lacked confidence, because he knew what was buried. The auditors discovered repeated urgent checks, payments to shell companies, vendor accounts linked to relatives' files approved verbally. Never written. One pattern stood out clearly. Whenever money went missing, Urwa's signature appeared. The perfect shield. Until now, the regulatory authority contacted Urwa, not as an accused, as a witness. When she entered the inquiry room, her posture was different. She didn't lower her eyes. She didn't apologize. She spoke clearly. I followed internal approvals, she said. I trusted my manager. That trust was misused. She presented audio notes, email confirmations, bank officer statements, timeline comparisons. The officers exchanged looks. This wasn't negligence, this was manipulation. Raghav was summoned next. He denied everything, blamed systems, blamed Urwa, blamed junior staff. Then the officers showed him the company registration documents, his cousin's name, the same addresses, the same phone numbers. His face went pale. That was the moment his power collapsed. Employees who stayed silent before began speaking. A senior clerk admitted pressure. A junior accountant confessed fear. Even HR tried to save themselves. Raghav stood alone, just like Urwa once had. The authority issued a formal correction. Urwa's termination was declared wrongful. The financial misconduct label was removed. Her record was clean. Again, she held the letter in her hands for a long time. 5 years of honesty. Restored in one page. That evening, Urwa received a call from Raghav. His voice was different now. Low, careful Urwa. He said, "Let's talk. We can fix this." She replied calmly, "We already did," and disconnected. The case was no longer internal, it was criminal. Charges were prepared. Media inquiries began. And Urwa was asked one final question. "Do you want compensation or justice?" She smiled. "I want truth," she said. "The rest will follow." The case against Raghav Malhotra went public. News portals didn't mention Urwa's name at first, but they didn't need to. The evidence spoke loudly enough. Headlines read, Senior Manager accused of corporate fraud at Falcon Heights for the first time. The man who had humiliated Urwa in front of an entire office stood exposed before the world. Raghav was suspended immediately, then terminated, then arrested. His network collapsed within days. His allies distanced themselves. The HR head resigned quietly. Directors claimed ignorance. None of it mattered. The system had finally noticed. Urwa was offered compensation. A large amount, an apology letter, even her old seat back. She declined the seat. "I don't want to return to a place that threw me out without asking the truth," she said. Instead, she accepted legal compensation, a public correction, a formal apology, and she walked away. 2 months later, Urwa joined a global firm, not as a junior DAT, as a compliance consultant. Her experience, her honesty, her survival, they had become her strength. People listened when she spoke. Now no one shouted. No one dismissed her. One evening, Urwa passed by Falcon Heights. The building looked smaller. Her old seat was occupied by someone. New. She didn't feel anger. She felt closure. Urwa stood on a stage months later, dressing young professionals. "A mistake doesn't define you," she said. "But how you respond to injustice does." The audience applauded, some cried, she smiled. When someone removes your seat unfairly, build a table so strong that they can never touch it again.